Well, good evening. My name is Dave Sabathney. I'm the president and CEO of the Western DuPage Chamber of Commerce, and we thank you all for being here this evening. The Western DuPage Chamber of Commerce is proud to represent the business community and the residents of the city of Warrenville. We do any number of things, but I'm not going to go into it. Please go to our website at westerndupagechamber.com and you can see the many programs that we do. I will highlight two things that we're going to be doing. One of them is that we will be visiting over the next couple of months all of the businesses in Warrenville. And we're doing this as an initiative to help get the word out about our stroke unit that is housed out of Northwestern Medicine, Central DuPage Hospital, because so many people know what the symptoms are of heart attacks, but they tend not to know about stroke. And timing is so important. So if you can remember FAST, the acronym, we're going to have some posters out there, but face might droop a little bit. Arm, it might be a little bit loose. Speech, the neuroreceptors start firing a little bit off, and so they may say things that don't make much sense. And time, and that's where most people make the mistake. Certainly when they recognize a stroke, think maybe I can drive to the hospital quicker. But if you call 911, they have a mobile stroke unit, it can get there, they can start treatment immediately, and time is so critical as deterioration begins. So we will be out visiting all the businesses, not just members, but every business in Warrenville to help educate the community on that as a public service, and to make sure that we know more than half our time is spent at work. So if strokes are happening, they're probably happening half the time at work, and so somebody goes to the office or the boss and says, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to go home, and they say, okay. Well, let's check on them. Let's ask a few questions before we say okay, and send them home. So that I think is a positive message, but the other positive message is we hosted a trip to China last year. We had residents of Warrenville and Winfield and West Chicago and as far as Florida come and travel with us to China, and it was an amazing trip. This year we're hosting a trip to the Amalfi Coast of Italy. We would encourage you to come. We're doing an informational meeting at the library, with the Warrenville Library, tomorrow at 6 o'clock. If you're able to come by and you want to learn a little bit about this program, we'd love to have you come and learn about it and go to Italy with us. And if that's too late for you, we have a 4 o'clock at the Chamber office in West Chicago that you can come to. So that's my introduction. Again, you can go to our website and learn more about this, but really the purpose we're here for tonight is for the State of the City address, and it's one that I appreciate so much because this is as close connected to the government that you have and has the greatest impact in your life is right here. And you and the business community and I have a great pleasure. A lot of people talk about transparency, collaboration, cooperation, but you often don't find the follow-through. In Warrenville, we are blessed to have all of those things. So I learned early on, be articulate, be brief, and be seated. So with no further ado, I will say that it is my pleasure to introduce our champion, our leader, our neighbor, our friend, our mayor, David Brummel.
Well, good evening. I'm happy to be here again tonight. This is number 14 for me for this particular exercise. It's hard to believe. Those of you who have the rooftop that I have appreciate, I'm sure, how quickly time passes and how quickly those decades get behind you. We've had so many exciting things over the years in Warrenville. It's nice to look back. We're going to do a little bit of that tonight, just look back on the past year and look a little bit ahead to the coming year. A couple of preliminary comments I'd like to make. A lot of good things are happening in Warrenville. A lot of good things have happened in our past. I can't emphasize enough how much of a team effort that is. It's not the mayor getting everything done. It is only possible because we have a terrific staff. We have a roster of volunteers second to none. We have other taxing districts to cooperate with. We have all these opportunities to collaborate, cooperate, and to make a better whole than we started with. When I visit schools, a lot of times the kids ask me, what do you like about being mayor? And one of the first things that always comes up is the people I get to work with. I would not have been able to accomplish any of the things that I've accomplished without the terrific staff. Is Alma here tonight? I have to highlight Alma because we had one of our staff out sick that was going to help prepare this, and Alma had to pick up the slack and did a terrific job in the last couple of days of finishing things up for us. But that's the kind of people we have working in the city of Warrenville. If you've had any interaction with them, you know what I'm talking about. They're not only good people, they're solid professionals, and they're as helpful as they can be to the citizens. So I'm proud to be a part of this. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share some of the good things that are happening in town. It's always interesting to me that you think a big city has all the big problems and they have all the issues, and for a small town it's different. They're the same, the numbers are just different. We have to deal with the same issues that a larger city does. They create some of their own problems. There are certainly some differences between Warrenville and the city of Chicago, mostly involving debt, but we'll get into that later. But there are a number of issues that you have to face no matter what once you get together in community. We do our best to address those issues, and part of what I want to talk about tonight at the beginning is the visible and the invisible, the stuff that you see happening in town and the stuff that's behind the scenes. One of the things that you see, I hope, and you appreciate, that happens to be the sign up on Winfield Road as you come into Warrenville, illuminated at night. It certainly is a very welcoming presence up there. And if you notice tonight, for the first time, our message board is operational on the corner up here up at Butterfield and 56. That again announces to folks as they come through town, they're in Warrenville, they're in a community that cares about itself, that does some beautification. There has certainly been an enormous effort along that corridor to make that an especially beautiful place, so as the thousands of cars that go through here every day know they're in Warrenville. I mean, there was a time when there were no signs, there was nothing to indicate what town you were in. So establishing an identity is an important thing. We have certainly worked very hard on that. We have our new logo, which is another thing that you have to do. Every once in a while you have to reinvent yourself because the times keep changing, and we try to keep up with it. So some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight are very, very visible, very important for our image, very important for our enjoyment of our community, very important for our property values because it makes our community look cared for. Those things are easy to see. There are some things that are not so easy to see because you don't know anything about them. And don't worry, you don't have to read that. Even if you could read it, you probably couldn't figure out what it's all about. But those types of things are being dealt with all the time. There's something I'm going to talk about briefly tonight, the ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. If any of you are familiar with that, it's a very involved process that's going to allow us to take our legacy systems that we've kind of developed over the years to do business and communicate, and now they are very disparate and don't necessarily work well together and aren't maybe supported under one big umbrella, and do it right. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But my point is that what you see is usually almost always a very small part of what goes on behind the scenes. That's the same thing for the potential developments and the developments that we've had happen. What you see, there it is. Oh, they're going to build that. Wonderful. It takes months and months and months of work to get from the point of a concept to actually being able to accomplish that. So I just want to highlight the appreciation of the fact that what goes on behind the scenes is a lot more than what you see out there. And if you like what you see, you really would like what's going on behind the scenes because we have a great process. What we try to do is every day of the week, we try to follow our strategic plan. We have a lot of planning documents that are used every day in making decisions. Staff does a good job of doing what the policymakers, the elected officials, give them to do. The strategic plan, this particular one, was established in 2015. We'll probably have to revisit that in the next year or two, or maybe 3, given our resources. But it's a big umbrella under which we plan everything that we do. When we do stuff, it has to somehow fit in to the strategic plan so that We can say we are following, when staff comes in and says, let's do this, they can say, here's how it fits in the strategic plan. This is what the council voted on. This is what we're supposed to be doing, which is what staff job is. So what we'll do tonight is we'll look at 2018 in light of those goals, and then we'll look at 2019 in light of what we hope to expect to see in 2019. So the first one, economic development, is something that in the last few years we've made a particular effort to embrace. It's been difficult for a number of reasons, but it's a big necessity. We have a number of things that have been accomplished this year. You probably noticed the development next door, Stafford Place by Earhart Construction. That was a contaminated industrial site for a long, long time. It took us 10 years to clean it up to a residential standard to get it to the point where we could put something nice there. Earhart is a very highly regarded local developer. We're delighted to have them here. There will be 27 single-family homes there. In the first year, they've already pulled 12 permits. It's selling out very quickly. It's a product that's very popular at this time. I know a lot of people say, well, gee, there are no yards with some of those houses. Yeah, because some people don't want a yard anymore. Some people just want a nice house and they want to be able to come and go as they please. Flexibility in the market is very, very important. They're providing that. We have some bigger homes and we have the cottage homes, so there's a nice mix there. This will add about $12 million to our EAV. Every time we add to our EAV, that's a good thing for you, because the more people that you have to pay that tax burden, the fewer or the smaller amount you have to pay. We have to crack a certain nut every year to meet your expectations for service levels. We need a certain amount of money for that. The more folks we have to help pay through property taxes, the less we have to get from each of you. So keep that in mind. And I would just add parenthetically, when you look at your tax bill and your head explodes, remember, only about 9% of that goes to the city of Warrenville. Okay, so for every $1,000, we get 90 bucks. I think we do a remarkable job for that small portion of that tax bill. But every time we get a development like this, that helps keep our taxes reasonable. Riverview West project, I'll talk a little bit more when we get to 2019, but the council gave them a quick start opportunity this year. They wanted to start moving dirt out there. That's in Cantera. That's another big development. Tens of millions of dollars being invested in our community. They're already out there doing some work, getting ready for the spring so they can get a jump on that development in the spring. Thornton's gas station has been approved by the council. If you're familiar with the new signalized intersection on Route 59 Duke Parkway, which is south of Butterfield Road, just east of the new Amazon Fulfillment Center, this is the southwest corner. Thornton's is a preferred purveyor of gas. If you're going to have gas stations, they're a classy operation. If you've seen their operation up in West Chicago, nice architecture, nice clean building, well laid out. They're good people to have in town. So that also adds to the value to the community, and we've been told to expect a minimum of $500,000 a year in tax money from that. A lot of people go up and down Route 59. They might as well buy their gas in Warrenville. They're going to do that. That's going to help us, again, to keep our taxes down. So a couple of new businesses this year. Los Chales Restaurant up on 59, the Spotted Paw Grooming and Pet Goods Store in Cantera, and the LaForge Family Vineyard on Williams Road. Small businesses, very welcome in our town. They're the heartbeat of the town, and we wish them every success. Along with those new businesses, we issued 562 building permits, and notice the value, $16.4 million of investment in the community. Another indication of the health of the community is the fact that people are fixing their homes up, they're adding on to their homes, they're staying in place, and they're spending money on their homes. So another indication of how healthy Warrenville is. Fiscal conservatism. We are fiscally conservative. This is the moment that you are encouraged to cheer and clap when I say we continue to have no debt in Warrenville. We pay as we go. We save up our money to make sure we have money for capital projects so we don't have to borrow the money. Every penny that you pay in local tax goes to provide the services that you expect at a level that you expect. So to me, that's really good, because as homeowners and as people, you know, every dollar you spend paying interest to a bank, you can't use for something else that you need to do. We give no debt service to a bank. Everything is paid for cash. We, of course, balance our budget every single year. We're required by state statute to do that. The state's required to do it too, but somehow we probably shouldn't go down that road, but we do it here in Warrenville. Good government 101, don't spend money you don't have, and balance your budget every single year. We do that. Another point of pride, our police pension fund is funded at over 72%. There are a lot of communities in the state that are in the teens in terms of funding for their public safety pensions. It is a structural problem that the state faces. They have exacerbated that problem by not making payments into the pension fund. They've made it an enormous problem for the state. And of course, we're on the hook for that. They decide the benefits, we have to pay the money. And when the investments don't work out, we have to pick up the slack. We're ahead of that. We're required to be 90% funded by 2040. We're already at 72%. Every year we pay extra in, above and beyond what we're required to do. Again, fiscal conservatism. Try to be ahead of things and don't get behind. Open space and environment, very, very important to our town. Everyone I talk to is grateful for our open space, grateful for our park district, all the opportunities they present, grateful for our forest preserve district, the pathways that we have in town, the open space. We have that. We have joined SoulSmart, which is going to allow us to make it easier for people to get permits to do solar energy retrofits to their house, encourage them to do that, streamline the process for them, encourage builders when they're building new homes to put in the raceways, whatever is necessary to do solar ahead of time, so that people maybe are buying a new house that don't have the money to invest in the solar energy aspect of it right away. They decide to do it a couple years later, everything's there ready for them to do it. So this is a nice thing, something that we can do, that we try to do things incrementally in steps to make things better and better. This is one of those things that gets us closer and closer to what we know is necessary. Fossil fuels are certainly a big problem, and the more we can get away from fossil fuels, the better. This is an opportunity for us to help that. We're still working on that trail and bridge replacement up on Mack Road. If you've ever ridden a bike up there or walked, Mack Road is very narrow, doesn't have a shoulder, it's not a good situation. We thought we had it at one point until we had the bridge inspected and found out that it was defective and we could not put a path on that, so we had to go to get engineering for the bridge and source of money for that. We got some money to get that done, so we're still working on that. Currently, the current plan is under review. We are cautiously optimistic that in the next year or so we're going to see that pathway and the bridge crossing completed. It certainly is one of the things that we want to do as a bicycle-friendly community. And again, I remind you, there are only 3 in DuPage County: Elmhurst, Naperville, and Warrenville at the bronze level. I'm very proud of the fact that we have opportunities in our town for getting out and biking and walking and taking your kids safely. And we try to expand that whenever we can. The sign you saw lit up tonight, the bridge columns, all of the landscaping improvements along Route 56. Another thing that we do to improve the likability of our town, the environment. We have more coming. It's almost done, I think, at this point, except for a few cleanup items. The signs are in place. We have wayfinding signs. We also have the monument signs. And as with virtually every project that we undertake in town, it's underwritten by outside money. This was almost entirely paid for by an ITEP grant of $1 million. We always try to leverage our projects with outside money so that we won't have to use tax money, and we've been very successful at that. This is another one of those successes. We're looking forward to the trailhead right across the street over here, further enhancements of, I forget what the number is, but tens of thousands of people go up and down that prairie path every year. When they come through Warrenville now, they're going to have a place to stop and rest, use a restroom, and look around and say, what a great little town this is. Maybe I'll buy a house here, or maybe I'll get an apartment here. The whole idea is image again. Very, very important. The perception of your community is extremely important. These are the types of things that heighten the perception of people out there that we are a good little community and we're a good place to live. City infrastructure, we're always having to do things. Sometimes we do things and then we find out they don't work and we have to look at it again. This is Warrenville Road during a big rain event. If you look to the edges of the road, you see quite a bit of water on top of the road. This has proved to be a project that didn't work out. We were on the cutting edge of something that appeared to be very workable. The whole idea of this thing, of course, is permeable pavement, so that you don't have all this runoff going into the river all the time. It soaks into the ground. There was a whole system we were sold on that looked very, very good. It is a good system. Unfortunately, we found out that its limitations are it's only good for parking lots, especially in our climate. It's not good for heavily traveled roads. So it is deteriorating fairly quickly, unfortunately. There's a lot of rutting because of, again, things that we didn't know about when we put it in. It's going to come out this coming year, and it's going to be replaced with full-depth asphalt. We're sad about that. It's charming. We love it. I think all of us really appreciate how nice it looks, but it doesn't work. The other two communities in the area that also had experimented with this in roadways are taking theirs out also. The pounding just makes the ruts. It's difficult to plow. There's just a number of reasons that it didn't work. It's kind of a mundane thing, but something that helps us be more efficient in what we do. Changing out, well, first the infiltration and inflow reduction program. Another thing that, okay, fine, the pipes leak a little bit, big deal. Well, when you have sanitary sewer and you don't have your own treatment plant and you pay for someone else to treat your sewage, the more you send there, the more it costs you. And when those people tell you, say, guess what, we just had a big rain event and there was a big spike in what came through your pipes. That says your pipes are leaky. We have to pay for that. You're the ratepayers. So we've got a system now that we can investigate, find those leaks, and obviously we're trying to cut those leaks to a minimum to keep the rates low, not to treat water unnecessarily, and not to get in trouble with Naperville because they're the ones that are taking all of our effluent. So that's a really important thing behind the scenes, again, that you don't think about, that you don't know about, but we have to deal with. We have to make sure that we keep the rates reasonable and we fix those leaks. We've extended a sewer main from Landon to Route 59. Sounds pretty mundane, but very, very important. One of the reasons that the Southwest District has languished for decades and had no meaningful development is that we haven't had the infrastructure. Now we have the sewer up there. A lot of that, again, was paid for by Duke when we got the signalized intersection. That whole operation up there, by the way, that whole intersection is in Warrenville. The Amazon Center is in Aurora, right on the other side of the border, but the new intersection is in Warrenville. Now all buildable and exciting. Thornton's is going to be there. All of that amounted to about if I remember correctly, $5.6 million worth of benefits to the city of Warrenville. Our investment was $1.2 million. So that's how we like to do things. We like to get partners to help us accomplish important things. Water meters, another, I guess, day-to-day type thing. Won't matter a lot to you, except the accuracy will be more important, the record keeping will be better, and it's more efficient for our staff to get that job done. So we've accelerated that program to get the new transmitters out quicker to help those folks do their job more efficiently. Public safety, always important. Little anecdote, I had an errand to run today, so I went from home over to down Butterfield Road into Aurora on Kirk Road and came back. And in that short trip, I passed 4 squad cars. That's a good thing. That presence in the community is a huge plus for us. And the chief has got those folks out there on directed patrols, and then they have their own time, but they're always out and about in the community. That presence is a huge plus for us, because imagine if you're thinking of doing something you shouldn't be doing and you pass 3 squads in 20 minutes, you go, maybe I'll go to the next town. So very important that we get that done. The fireworks thing, I think we were all annoyed. At least some people were more than annoyed about the proliferation of fireworks way before the 4th of July and after the 4th of July and on the 4th. Not a particularly good thing. We had a citizen come to us with not only that complaint that something needed to be done about it, but she also did a bunch of research and homework and gave us a number of ways to address the problem. We gave those to the chief. He put together a program, and I think you'll note, like I did, it was a lot quieter this year. There were a number of citations handed out, It was a successful program. We intend to do it again in 2019. Obviously, there are a number of reasons. Animals don't react well to it. We have veterans with PTSD. There are a number of reasons why you don't need that, and it's, of course, illegal. So, you know, can't encourage that. We're always working with the school district. A big concern, obviously, is safety for our kids at school. So our PD is always working with the school district and the Wheaton PD to make sure that we're prepared as we can possibly be for any events that we might not want to see, but continue to be happening. The Crisis Interventions Program, another really, really important thing kind of behind the scenes you don't think about, but there are a lot of situations that our police are faced with that could either escalate or de-escalate. This program helps them identify when they're able to de-escalate. Certainly there are situations where perhaps a person is ill, a person is mentally ill or challenged, and this helps them to deal with folks in a positive way and not escalate it into a situation where people get hurt. A really, really good program. I'm so proud of our department that we're participating in this. By the end of the year, I believe all of our officers will be trained for CIT, which is really a good thing. Resources to the community. We do our best. One of the nice things that we did, again, something you don't think about maybe unless you've participated in, is the drop-off box for medications. We got a grant, again, to get that box from Scarce. We put it up, and last year we collected 235 pounds of medications that people didn't need anymore. Think about that, because, you know, you hold those little things, they're light. 235 pounds was a lot. A company comes and takes those, they either dispose of them properly or they recycle them. They're out of your hair. You don't have to worry about getting rid of them in a safe way. They're also out of your medicine cabinet, because that's a source, sadly, of drugs for kids. They'll go to your medicine cabinet sometimes when they're visiting your house and help themselves. If the stuff isn't there, they can't do that. So it's good to have that going. National Night Out, one of the best in the country. I mean, this doesn't sound like much here, 23rd out of 33, but there are almost 17,000 communities in the country that participate. In the category of 5,000 to 15,000 population, we were rated, they picked the top 33 in the country. We were the 23rd from the top, okay? And there are only 3 other communities in Illinois that got the award. So we're in the top 4 in the state of Illinois and in the top of the country. 1,600 people came to that last year. If you didn't get the opportunity, come on out. It's a lot of fun, a lot of families, which is, I guess, really important, because families are the future of the community. The more we have the young families and we can involve them in the community, it's also a nice night that's multicultural. You see a lot of different kind of folks there having a good time. That's important for our community also. The police department also raised $5,000 for Special Olympics this year. Another great kind of a side thing that they do, team building type thing, and also has a great benefit to the people that receive that. And, oh wait, don't skip that one. You can pay your parking or your tickets online now. Yeah, I know. Well, you know, paying a ticket is just absolutely horrible to begin with. If you can do it anonymously without having to leave your house, that's even better. So one of those little things, we keep tweaking the system to try to make it more user-friendly. That's one of the things I thought was worth highlighting, because these are the things, again, we look at. When I mentioned at the very beginning how much I appreciate staff, most of these ideas come from staff. They go to other towns, they talk to other professionals, they go to seminars, and they come back with ideas of how we can do things better. And then our elected officials have the prescience to look at those ideas and say, yeah, that's a good idea, let's do it. So a lot of these things are generated from staff, but we always try to improve what we're doing as we go along. I guess the idea being that we'd like to leave things a little better than we found them. And we work at it in small and big ways. Diversity is another really important thing, I think, for a healthy community. We're very proud of the events that we have and how welcoming they are to everyone. We have Art on the Prairie Summer Days and the Independence Day celebration, very well attended, very popular with our neighbor citizens. We have a lot of folks that come from other towns to our quintessentially small town celebrations. People love it for a number of reasons. Parking's not a problem, the safety's not a problem, and it has that feel of a small town that we still engender, we still treasure, we still try to keep alive, even though the reality geographically is that we're a suburban community in the middle of DuPage County. We have to realize that, we have to react to that, we have to be aware of that, and we have to plan accordingly. But our heart is never going to change. We're a small town. We're always going to be that way if I have anything to say about it, because that's what I love about Warrenville. We have employees that are fluent in Spanish, Russian, and Polish. That's a start. We're looking for more. If you're interested, talk to us. It's very important to us that we are welcoming to anyone who wants to live here. We think that's the way the world should be. Okay, that was 2018. You thought I had them both done. No, we still have more. Let's go to 2019 and see what we've got. We'll start again with economic development. This is a pretty full schedule. We have a lot of things. Some of these things were mentioned last year. One of the things that I think was the hardest for me to learn about government when I got involved was that you think about something, you go, okay, let's do it, and then 5 years later, you're still working on getting it done. It takes a long time to accomplish things with government. It's a good thing, too, in one respect, in that we're very deliberate in how we do things. We have a great process, again, thanks to our staff, our professional staff, that makes sure that all of the developments that we look at are very, very carefully vetted. We have a plan commission that's very dedicated to nights every month to taking a look at these plans and making recommendations to the council. The Everton project is one of these projects, $74 million. It's up by the Amazon Fulfillment Center. It has a variety of housing options. This is something that we have determined, and our experts on the outside have told us, and of course is what we're seeing, is that one of the important things for a community in terms of sustainability and looking to their future is have diverse housing opportunities. Not everybody wants exactly the same thing. Some people like a big yard. Some people don't want any yard at all. Some people want to own. Some people want to rent. A lot of the younger people want to rent because life has changed for them. I think when a lot of us were growing up, you got a job, you stayed in that job, you bought a house, and you stayed there your whole life, and that's what you did. Now, 5 to 6 times people will change their career over their lifetime. Having a mortgage, having a house to deal with is not in their plans. A lot of younger people are more experiential. They're more interested in going out and doing things than they are in washing windows or cutting grass or any of the other things that you have to do. So one of the things, if you want your community to be successful and be sustainable over a period of time, is you've got to attract the people that are going to want to come to what you have. And if you only have one kind of housing stock, you've really limited what you can get. This is one of those developments that if you want to rent, you can rent. There are townhomes, there are upscale apartments. Lifestyle, again, is another big thing for a lot of our younger folks. You could live in this place and you could come and you don't have to leave because you go to the clubhouse and it's got all the amenities that you might want. You can go work out, you can do all of those things right on site. You can cook out with your friends because there are places provided for that. This is the type of thing that's very, very popular in a lot of the other surrounding communities, and we've got a couple of developments coming. The nice thing is, again, the developers we're working with are all very highly rated, very good people. We're very confident that we're going to get a very, very nice product if this actually gets built. We're hopeful. Benefits to us. Annual property tax revenue from this, almost $2 million. That'll be going into the TIF fund while the TIF exists. Remember, the TIF fund is used to improve an area that's blighted. Okay, so now that gives the community resources. That development being there is going to give the community resources to make the rest of the area even better and attract more development. So that's a very important thing. When the TIF is done after 23 years, we're looking at almost $500,000 in tax revenue. So again, that helps keep your bill down, the fact that those folks are there paying those taxes on that building. Lexington Trace is across the street on the other side of 59. $35 million project, market value. That's townhomes. Again, the tax revenue from there for TIF 4, $936,000, and after the TIF, another $160,000+ in tax revenue. Those are all townhomes, a couple of different types. This, again, is one of those properties that's been sitting fallow for decades because it didn't have the infrastructure. Remember, we talked about extending the sewer line up there. That whole thing in Duke Parkway is making this type of thing possible. Now, you say, oh boy, that's a whole bunch of new people coming to town. That's a good thing. One, it's a good thing that people want to live in Warrenville. It's a good thing for businesses. Go up on 59, stop in any business and ask them, would you like to have some more townhomes or some high-end apartments just down the street from your business? They'll go, when can you start? This is what business thrives on. Business needs people. This is going to provide people for our businesses. So we get the benefit, the tax benefits, we also get the benefit of it. Now I can't wave my arms so much. Is this on? Yeah, it's on, okay. And attracting the type of people that we want in town too. For instance, if we go back to the Everton project, if you want to rent in Everton, in order to get a lease, you have to prove an income of $75,000. That's going to attract people coming to town who have disposable income. They're going to come to our businesses, they're going to go to Target, they're going to go to Lifetime Fitness, they're going to go to the theater, they're going to support, they're going to go to Chewy's, they're going to go to all these good places that we have in town. Those kind of people we want in town. Also, if they like it, they're going to look, you know, hey, maybe we'll start a family and we'll stay, and they look for a home, so it makes all of our homes more valuable. So it all works together, and that's one of the reasons that we're excited about these things. Thornton's gas station, again, they're investing $10 million in town. First-class operation, very well thought out, and should be a big plus for us. Speedway gas station, if you're familiar with that gas station, it's on the northwest corner of 56 and Butterfield Road, 56 and Batavia Road, 59 and Batavia Road, sorry, yeah. Correct, thank you, Tim. It's an old gas station. It's been there forever. It hasn't received a whole lot of TLC over the years. Ecologically speaking, it's certainly very, very backward. What it's going to be replaced with is a brand new station that's state-of-the-art and up to code in every possible way to make it environmentally safe and friendly. For instance, right now, if you buy gas up there and you happen to spill some on the ground, it stays on the ground and goes into the storm sewer. Nothing's done. The new station, you spill something on the ground, there's a system to deal with that that'll take that out and clean it before it gets to the storm sewers. When the truck comes to put the fuel in right now, they open up the hole in the ground, they shove the hose in there, and they put the fuel in, and the fumes all go up in the air. It doesn't sound like much, but that's a big thing. The new system, truck pulls up, sealed. The pipe goes on there, it's sealed to the truck. The gas goes in, the fumes go back in the truck, and the fumes go off with the truck instead of in the atmosphere. So to say that this thing would be an improvement is an understatement over what we have. We have a worn-out station that's been there a long time. These folks are willing to make that investment. They've bought additional property. There's a nice landscaping setup they have. They bought enough property so that they can put in a lot of trees and make it look good. They're going to separate the box trucks off from the cars so that you don't have to be next to that landscaping thing with 14 trailers when you gas up your car. That'll be around back doing their stuff in the back. So a very, very nice development for town. Two brothers, are they in Warrenville? Well, we're really excited about the potential for Two Brothers. They additionally are now, we are committed to selling them an additional 7 acres across the street from their 20 acres that they bought a while back. This is a conceptual plan for what they might do. They're talking about moving their entire operation onto this site, with their, including new restaurants besides their own, banquet hall, the distillery, their coffee roasting, boutique hotel. These guys have big plans, and as you know, they do things well. They make good beer, they make good coffee. The spirits, I don't know, I haven't tried those yet, but maybe later tonight. We have also included in our agreement to sell them the additional 7 acres, certain triggers and requirements to get them moving. They are busy with so many projects that sometimes it's hard to keep them focused on getting the one done in Warrenville. So again, at the direction of our staff and the advice of our staff is let's put these things in these requirements, time requirements that you got to do this, this, and this to keep this project going and get it going. So they're pretty excited about it. We're very excited about it. I can't tell you how many times I've had mayors threatened to steal Two Brothers from me, and I just smile. They're not leaving Warrenville. They love Warrenville. So they're going to be here, and hopefully that's going to get started in the near future. Another big development in Cantera is the Vanguard development, $30 million. And you can look at the numbers there, 242 upscale apartments. This is, again, another product that's very, very popular. The nice thing about all of these big developments is this isn't the first time they're being built in Warrenville, so it's not an experiment. These are being built in other places, and they're very, very successful. This is a lifestyle type place to live that is very popular with a lot of folks. I talked to Steve Morley a few weeks back, the mayor of Elmhurst. They had a new building built in Elmhurst, and he said, I get young single people, I get young marrieds, I get recently retired folks who want to stay in town but don't want a house, and I get older retired folks. He says it's perfect. It helps populate our downtown. So you attract the kind of people that you want to the community, and you give people that live there an opportunity to stay, that want to change from having a home to having something that doesn't require a lot of extra work. Riverview West, remember we mentioned that earlier. I hear the bulldozers. They're working out there as we speak, moving dirt around, getting ready for this, almost a $90 million project. This has 3 components. It has the Texas Wrap apartment building, and that's an interesting term. Texas Wrap means that the parking garage is in the center and all of the units are around that. If you live on the 4th floor, guess what? You can drive up to the 4th floor, park your car, and get out and get into your apartment. Again, it's a lifestyle type thing. Has a beautiful courtyard, again, for entertaining for the folks. 60 townhomes along the river. The river is along the top edge there. I suspect that those will sell very quickly. Again, it's a beautiful site. It's a nice place to live. And these are the types of things that are very, very popular at this time. And I wanted this included. It has not been approved by the council yet. It's being considered by the council. I want to raise your awareness of this. One of the things that have been requested over the years many times is, where do our seniors live if they don't want to leave town, and yet they don't want a house anymore? This is rent subsidized senior housing, which means that your ability to pay according to your income determines what your rent is. There's 71 units there. It's being proposed by Alden Corporation. If you Google them, they're a top-notch operation. They have these places in many other communities. They fill up very quickly because there's a big need for those things. It's on the site of Butterfield Road and Batavia Road right now, where the beautiful tulip tree blooms in the springtime. They have said that they will work with us to try to save that tree if they can. Over the years, of course, we've really wanted to get some development on that corner. Our first, I think, wish was for a nice restaurant with a view of the river and everything. Sadly, the market won't support that. These folks are buying 4 pieces of property, assembling them at considerable cost, and then proposing to build their building. It's very, very unlikely that we could find a restaurant that would make that type of investment speculatively. And only using the first lot, it's not big enough to really have anything. We did have somebody that wanted to put a Dunkin' Donuts there. We weren't too excited about that. It was not a really good fit. But this is potentially a good fit. I bring it up again because it will meet a need in Warrenville. It seems like a good site for that. I would like you to consider it and think about it. If you feel strongly one way or another, you should let your elected officials know. Well, adding things up a little bit, 100 acres of new development. Keep in mind that this is not reducing quote-unquote open space. All of these acres are privately owned. All of them are going to develop at some point with something. We're not taking away from forest preserves. We're not taking away from the park district. This is all privately owned property that will develop. We consider our role to be develop it in the best way possible for the future of the community. We don't always get exactly what we want, but our goal is always to get the best possible development. We're pretty happy with the stuff that we've gotten on that 100 acres, and we're looking forward to seeing a lot of them completed. But again, behind the scenes, hours and hours of meetings and hard work by staff to get from that concept that's being presented originally to something that is acceptable to the community. And if you've ever come to a Plan Commission meeting, you can appreciate, I think, that what comes in the door is not always exactly the same as what gets approved. The Plan Commission really makes a very concerted effort to tweak improvements wherever they can. we have Tim Cosgrove and John Davis, who have combined 70-some years of volunteering on our Plan Commission. They should get a hand. The last one I went to was 3 hours long. If you read my column this month, how many people read my column? Anybody? Oh, that's encouraging. Thank you. I talked about that 3-hour meeting. Again, it's informative to once in a while to go to one of those meetings, if for no other reason to reassure you that decisions that are made at least are made carefully and not on a whim. And if you watch these folks in action, they really care about making these projects as best as they can be. $200 million in private investment, building permit value $80 million. Again, some big impressive numbers. This is the biggest year we've had since Cantera back in the 90s. The vitality, again, of your community is on display here. A lot of people outside of Warrenville take a look at Warrenville and say, I want to be there. That says a lot about you and about your community. It's nice to be part of it. Fiscal conservatism. Well, we're going to take out a bunch of loans this coming year. I know. Had you, though. Some of you look funny. No, we're never going to do that, at least when I'm in charge, and I don't think our culture is ever going to allow us to do that. I think that's a point of pride for all of us that work for the city, is that we do things in a responsible manner. We know that that's an unusual situation in today's world. Maybe that helps make us even a little more proud of the fact that we're able to do that. It's a big thing. Really is a big thing when you consider how much money has to go for debt service. When you think in terms of the state of Illinois with in excess of $130 billion worth of unfunded pension liabilities. That is a huge hole to dig out of. The city of Chicago that has sold off all their assets for one-term money and then spent it, and now they don't have those assets to provide revenue. Their debt is enormous. I don't really know why anyone would want to be mayor of Chicago, but God bless them. I like Warrenville. It's much simpler to deal with the problems that we have. The enterprise resource planning system, a big deal. Again, one of those things that you don't think about, and it's probably better because it's so complex. I've gone through some of the meetings when I've gone through and sat with staff for a little bit, and I just get up and leave. It's just way, way beyond. The complexity is very difficult. But what we're doing is finally, you know, as the community matures, we have to change the way we do things. We have to get better at the way we do things. We have to be more efficient. We have to communicate better. This ERP is going to help us do all those things. It's going to completely change the way we do business. All the old systems that we had where one department couldn't talk to the other department, where our employees have difficulty talking to each other, where record keeping is all paperwork, unnecessarily burdensome paperwork that takes a lot of time, where it's difficult to communicate for the citizens to communicate with us. It's all going to be much, much better when we get this done. It's a $1.3 million project. It involves replacing all the software we have for everything we do and retraining the staff. It's a big, big deal. It's necessary. It's one of those things that we held in abeyance as long as we could because it's expensive. And staff not only has to do their regular work for about 11 months or 12 months, they've got to do the additional work to train for this new program. So it's a big, big deal. But when we're done with it, we're going to be far better off in terms of record keeping, communications, and when our folks are out on the job, there's John checking on one of the things. He's going to be able to put things into his tablet that are going to go to the rest of the system. So it's just going to be a really, really jump forward for us in terms of how we conduct business. All of our financials, all of our record keeping, all is going to be part of this new system. All of the old systems, some of which are creaky and no longer supported by the people that supply to us and that are worn out and that can't contribute, all going to be gone. So hopefully about the middle of the year, we're going to see that up and running. It'll make a big difference. I think you will notice, and certainly staff will be able to do their jobs far more efficiently than in the past. That's part of the improved communications. Workflow processes are finalized. Again, we're always looking at ways to do things better, to do them more efficiently. That helps keep your taxes down. It also attracts quality people to do the job. If you want people to come and stay, and we're very fortunate to have a lot of long-term employees, they know they're valued and they're given what they need to do the job well. So that's what we try to do. That's that project. Open space and environment. Hoping to see the trailhead this coming year. We're very close. The council has picked the preferred design. We have, again, almost $400,000 in grants. We're working with a number of partners on this, the ProPath people, the Forest Preserve District, as well as the county. So this is a collaborative effort. It's government at its best when all these different units can get together for a project and make it happen. We're very proud of the fact that we are very cooperative, and we do that a lot. The Mac Road Trail and Bridge replacement, that's getting closer. Again, another grant of over $500,000 to help us accomplish that. And then one final thing that we're considering, that empty gas station as you go downtown by the river. No, I won't say that. We would like to see that change. It's a problem property. It's contaminated. We've identified some of the contamination, but we haven't identified the extent of some of the other contamination, which makes it extremely difficult to sell for somebody. It was that property was bought by a group of investors who bought a bunch of underperforming gas stations, and it continued to underperform until they closed it. They're sitting on it. We're negotiating with them to try to purchase it, because at least from my perspective, and some of the other elected officials may disagree, that will be there when they bury me just the way it looks, unless the city gets involved with it, because the cost involved in remediating that property, tearing down the buildings that are there, putting up a new set of buildings is so overwhelming that no one is going to do it. So we are in a position to do that. It's in a TIF district. We can use TIF funds for that. So my plan, at least what I would endorse, would be we purchase the property, we clean it up, we get it ready for redevelopment, and we get some new businesses down there as opposed to an empty gas station. So something else that we're looking at, we'll be discussing in the coming months. The council has to agree on that, but again, from my perspective, it'd be nice to see something new there. City infrastructure, again, we're always on that. If you've been to Target, you know that at certain times of day, that whole area is a little bit congested. It almost feels like Naperville, doesn't it? Oh, geez, I should. We're going to try to fix that. Steve, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. We are looking at this turn lane improvement, which should make things a whole lot better. That's in process. It's going to happen at some point, so we can look forward to that. We'll be able to come and go easier when we're up in that shopping center. That is a good thing for us, and it's a good thing for the people from other towns that come to Warrenville to go to Lifetime Fitness and shop at our Target, our revitalized Target, which last time I checked was one of the highest performing Targets in the entire region. So thank you very much, people of Warrenville, and the people of surrounding communities that go there all the time too. It's a great store. We're going to have to spend about $1 million to do the Warrenville Road thing. Remember when I showed you the puddles on the road and the fact that the bricks were failing? The good news about that is that when that was originally built, we did it kind of with a belt and suspenders type thing, so that we already have the infrastructure in for drainage, for stormwater. That's all there. The curbs and gutters are all there. The sidewalks are all there. The lighting's all there. None of that has to be changed. That's all paid for and done. The only change is going to be the bricks will be gone and pavement will be there. And currently we're in discussions as to what we can do for traffic calming, because one of the big things about Warrenville Road is people see this nice straight road and they just want to sail down it. The bricks slowed people down a lot, which was a good thing. So we're trying to make sure that we have ways to slow people down again, even though it's going to be asphalt. And this infiltration and inflow reduction program, we're going to continue working on that. Again, it's very, very important that we get that problem solved and we get it in hand, and I told you why, and I'm sure you understood. Fox Hollow Lift Station rehab, one of these things that we have to look at things constantly and make sure that we get to them before they fail and they cause us a lot of grief. One of the other things that I could have listed under fiscal conservatism is we have our capital maintenance and replacement plan, which is a funded program where we have all of our important stuff that you own listed. We have a life for it, an expected life. We have expected cost for maintenance, and we have a revenue source to cover all of that. So when stuff wears out, there's money to pay for it. when that big lift machine that you see out on the street, when the engine finally blows and it's 12 years old and it's got 300,000 miles on it, there's money to replace it. We consider that to be responsible government. We do that now for our enterprise systems too, for sewer and water system. So everything that you own as a community, and you own it, is in that, if it's of a certain size. It has to be obviously not pens and pencils and that sort of stuff, but anything of any significance is in the program to be maintained and replaced when that time comes. And we do our best not just to look at that as a formula. We look at each individual, the departments. So if that truck is still working good and it's 8 years old and we can get another year out of it, we'll get another year out of it if it's safe. So we don't just replace it because it says it should be replaced. But at least you know that when stuff goes, we have the money to take care of it. That's how we operate. Water loops, again, you know, these things you don't think about, but they're important. A water system, it's important to have those loops because if you have just a dead end and something goes wrong somewhere along that line, then everybody past that problem doesn't have water until it's fixed. If you have a loop, the water can get both ways. So it's a much better system to loop it for that reason, and there are other reasons also. We're looking at an extension then again from Landon to 59. To help with the development of the Southwest District. That's coming up. Virginia Street Storm Sewer. Little by little, we're making a lot of improvements in terms of storm sewers. Warrenville was built in a lot of hollows and stuff. People built homes in there, and we're gradually addressing them. There's a system in place now. It's just outdated and not working very well, so it's going to be replaced. And public safety, again, just the way our department runs, I'm very impressed and very proud of what we do. If you saw the portfolios and the resumes of the people who want to be cops in Warrenville, you would be very impressed. Every time we have a test, it seems like the bar goes up. We get people that are more qualified to be officers, people who want to be professional policemen, who have the schooling for it, who have a portfolio of things that they've done already. We attract that kind of people to Warrenville. So that you should be very proud of. And the chief should be very proud too because he's made that department what it is today. Professional, high performing, high expectations, and we get people who want to be good cops. I always tell them when we swear them in, I said, if you want to be a good cop, you came to the right town because we have a department that will show you how to do that. We still have the neighborhood roll call. Another outreach effort to try to get people to connect with police because we know that the safest communities are safe because of a collaboration between the citizens and the police department. So whenever you get an opportunity to interact, pay the ticket in person and you can talk to the cop for a while. But seriously, when you get a chance to interact, I think you'll be pleased. These folks really do care about what they're doing. They enjoy being cops in Warrenville. They're professionals and they're good people. A big thing that we did last year that was real popular, we're going to do it again, is the electronics recycling. I think that truck filled up in record time with stuff that we have sitting around that we can't get rid of responsibly. There will be an opportunity. You'll be noticed in plenty of time so that you can participate in that. And the crisis intervention thing, again, is a big thing for problem situations that need de-escalation as opposed to escalation. Our folks are all going to be trained to do that effectively. For diversity, again, we keep trying. We would love to have more diversity in our staff, in our volunteers. That's why the volunteers welcome. We have over 70 people serving on volunteer commissions in town. Occasionally I get openings on those commissions. So keep that in mind. It's a good way to be part of the community, make some new friends, contribute in a positive way. I can guarantee you, you won't want to go to every meeting. So I got to go out again tonight, but then you'll get there and you'll enjoy what you're doing and you'll make some new friends and you'll feel like you're contributing. So everyone is welcome in Warrenville. Well, again, this whole umbrella that we're talking about, all the things we talked about tonight are in our strategic plan. The plan is the document that we use to determine our future, and that's, I think, another thing that I'm very proud about what we do in Warrenville. We don't just go from year to year and say, okay, we got through that year, what do we do now? We look 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. The idea is to leave a sustainable, successful community after we're gone. That is a very satisfying goal. I think most of us are are motivated by that when we come to work at the city here. You motivate us to do that. The fact that you're here, that you love this town and you stay here makes us want to do it even better, because that's what public service is about. And I think at local level, that's where you really find public service. I've said that again and again, and I'll continue to say it. Local government is where it's at. We really get the job done. And we have the biggest effect on your everyday life. So it's very satisfying when those roads get plowed and I hear people say, I knew when I left Warrenville, it was very easy, I could tell. Or when you have an interaction with the police department, you say that officer was very professional, very helpful. When our public works folks go out of their way to solve a problem for somebody, we get emails and letters on a regular basis. Well, John came in late, he brought in a torch, I had a frozen pipe, he helped me unfroze. He came back the next day to make sure it was right. I mean, this is what our people do. Again, this is one of the reasons that I really enjoy being mayor of this town. Good people to work with. And good former elected officials who sit in the front row and encourage me. You know what she used to do to me when I was first elected? I'd be sitting in the office and Vivian would be doing some plants or something. She'd come by and she'd look in and she'd say, I'm so glad you're here. Well, 20 years, Vivian, you did your part for sure. Thank you so much. Okay, there we are. Again, what you see and what you don't see. Hopefully what you see is something you find pleasing, and what you don't see, at least you appreciate the fact that all these things are going on behind the scenes to try to keep the service levels at a very, very high level that you expect. We try to create high expectations and then meet those expectations. We do our best to do that. And I will give you the last word if you're so inclined. Anybody want to add anything to the meeting tonight? We have a mic going around if you're interested. Yes?
I had a question about the water requirements.
Hold on just a second.
I had a question about the water requirements for Two Brothers.
How much they're going to need?
If Warrenville has to change anything, or at what impact the water might be, what impact Two Brothers might have on our water.
I don't think, I'm seeing Ron shaking his head no, I doubt that there's going to be a significant impact. Ron, would you like to say? He sat in the back, he thought he'd be safe.
Two Brothers Brewery is currently hooked up to city water, and there's no issues with the amount of water they use or the effluent that they produce as part of their brewing process. We're not anticipating that that's going to change as they expand.
Question? Anyone else? Well, we better, just in case I might know the answer.
I want to know if either one of the gas stations will have E85 gas.
Yes,
Both or one?
both.
Good.
Yep.
All right, I won't have to go to Naperville anymore.
Music to my ears. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Follow up to that last question. Does
Oh.
either or both of those stations have electric vehicle charging station?
That's a good question. No, they do not. I'm presuming that they're prescient enough, though, to plan for that in the future. It's going to be necessary at some point. Yeah, well, they don't, according to Ron, they don't have it currently in the plans. But again, it seems to me that if they're thinking at all, that's the future. I've often wondered why you want to put $7 million into a gas station when the future is not in gas. There must be so much money to be made selling gas. I suspect a lot of it is their little restaurant or their little store that you stop in to buy your whatever you need to keep you awake while you're driving. That type of stuff is probably a big part of their bottom line. But certainly, that has to be part of the future. It has to be.
So there's a lot of development that's being shown for residential properties, which I think is great, get more people in the community. But what sort of capacity are the schools currently running at, and what kind of capacity do they have to expand?
Okay, that's a really good question, and it's asked frequently. School District 200 actually for the last several years has been declining in population, so that there's very, very little possibility of us producing enough children from these developments that it's going to cause them a problem. Most of the developments, again, have been built elsewhere, so we have evidence to see how many kids are produced by the developments. They've all been lower than our estimates that we've looked at before. For instance, if you want to take an example on Herrick Road, the MI Homes development, 74 townhomes. The same question was asked, we're worried about how many kids are going to go to the school. 74 townhomes, guess how many kids are in the school district? 7. So we look at these very carefully. The school district has not come out against any of them. They're not unhappy with any of the potential there. All of them are going to produce, I think we came up with less than 100 kids. Was that, Ron, if all of them are built out? 121 kids is our estimate. And again, these are based on what our experts tell us and also on practical experience of the same development in another community. So it's not like we're just using a crystal ball for this. And again, we're not attracting the kind of people, for instance, those high-end apartments are not going to attract families. They're going to attract young singles and young marrieds. Good question, though. Yes, Dorothy.
I was wondering if there are plans to replace the other city signs, the old city signs.
The other city signs, yeah, the wooden ones. We have a few of those left. I suspect at some point, I don't think there's any right now. We'll look for some grant money. That's the best way to do it, right? Well, you have been a fabulous audience tonight. Thank you so much for coming out. I very much appreciate it. It's nice to talk to a full room. It's nice to see a room full of smiles. It's not something we always see.
And it's very nice to see you with no notes
Oh, yeah.
and talking constantly for over an hour.
Yeah, if you remembered some of my earlier efforts, I guess I have evolved as a public servant. When I was first elected, I had to write out everything, every single word, and I had to do it a certain way to be confident that it would come out in a way that I was going to be proud of it. And at some point, we made the transition to that and this, and it seems to have worked okay. So I didn't see anybody nodding off. That's a good sign. Thank you so much again for coming.